Hey, what's going on, y'all? Mike from Dow Designs here. Just wanted to, get this on the road for y'all. Wanted to check in and show you guys some things on a MetalFab today. So we're going to start by doing a quick slideshow. For that, we will we'll run through the slideshow, and then we'll have some time to answer questions. We'll do a lucky draw. We'll do some giveaways. We'll get this rolling today. We'll do some welding projects, and we'll do some cutting projects, and I'll kind of walk you through how I've been using the MetalFab to generate some income and make some money, because not too many people are using this machine just for crafting and hobbies. This is more, a lot of people are using it to really generate some income because it is a more industrial quality machine. So we'll go ahead and get that rolling. All right. So today we're going to go ahead and do this. And one thing I did want to point out from here out for the rest of the evening that we do have, they do have a coupon right now. So if you go ahead and use the coupon code, you can save $500 off of the combo or $300 off of just the welding units. Now, keep in mind, if you're going to be using the CNC, you do need the welder. So you can't just purchase the CNC because you won't have any power. It'll literally just be a box that moves in a circle or square, whichever you program it to do. So let's get this rolling. So a little bit about me. I own Dow Designs. It's a shop we have here is in right outside of Nashville, Tennessee. Prior to this, I was an IT engineer for years. I started this business a few years ago, started getting into laser engraving. I've always been somebody who tinkers, somebody who works in a shop, and just somebody who just truly likes working with their hands and working on projects, crafting and all that stuff, building things. So naturally, lasers came natural for me. Doing the graphic design, not so much, but we all learn somewhere. We all start somewhere. One thing I posted in some of my Facebook groups yesterday was that, everybody, there's a lot of people, we're all on different paths and we're all at different stages of the game. So we all start with nobody to support us, no followers, and no customers. It's up to us to where we build it. So I'm going to do my best to kind of give you guys some tools and kind of teach you some things with this MetalFab here. So hopefully you guys can have some customers, some followers, and create some cool stuff. So today's agenda, we'll cover a little bit about what the MetalFab is and the metal industry, and how we can do some metalworking, a little bit the MetalFab, how it can help us do welding, cutting, as well as some rust removal. Then we'll do some demos on some welding. This time, I'll do my best to keep my gloves out of the way. I know last time I got big paws. They got in the way. You guys couldn't see the entire weld. I have that in mind now. I'll try to keep that out of the way. We'll also go over how to keep costs down when you're using your MetalFab, because, just because it can generate some good income and you can make some good profits with the machine on some projects, you can only do that if you're not spending a ton on the gas and the different supplies for it. So I'm going to kind of give you some tips on where to find products and where to find material, as well as when to use what gas, and see how we can do that. And then we'll go ahead and we'll do a Q&A session where y'all can ask me whatever questions I don't have answered here. So as I mentioned today, we're going to do a lucky draw. When we hit that magic number of, I think it was 100 people in this meeting, we'll go ahead and do that. And 3 of you guys will win $50 gift cards, and then we'll do another one for 3 $100 gift cards. One thing I did want to mention is there is no time like the present if you are considering getting the MetalFab, because I was told the prices will be going up. And also, you have a $500 off coupon. So you're saving $500 and you're saving yourself from paying more later on. So it's no secret, the metal industry is growing. I used to work at a company that we did stainless steel manufacturing, and it was a billion-dollar business. Now, I'm not saying the MetalFab is going to be the solution to grow your business into a billion-dollar business, but you can make some cool stuff. It's definitely a very industrial quality machine that with the precision that it could have, You could definitely cut out a lot of stuff. One of the things that I've been doing is cutting out different metals, like stainless steel, because I also just got the F2 Ultra. And with the F2, I've been doing things like that, where I've been cutting out that stainless steel here and getting different colors on it. You can kind of see it's green, black, and there's a little bit of white in there if that camera will focus. So my favorite combination of units right now is the MetalFab and then the F2 Ultra, which is right on the other side of my desk there. So it's a great unit because you can, bounce between things. You can go cut yourself some coin blanks and then go ahead and engrave them with the depth map using the F2. So for, historically speaking, to learn how to weld, it would take a ton of time to become a good welder. I mean, I tried to learn how to weld. I had a very, very good welder trying to teach me. There are a bunch of people in the Facebook group, such as Tony. He's an experienced welder. We got there's just a lot of people in that group that I know are experienced welders, and then there are people who have no welding experience whatsoever, and that's okay, because with the MetalFab, I got to say it's easy. It's kind of like working a metal glue gun. It just pushes you along, and you're good to weld. It's also super customizable where you can set all the settings in there, but we'll cover that in a minute. So if you did have like some little bit of welding projects, if you take it to a welding shop, how much that stuff costs. Well, now you can bring that in-house. As far as safety goes, there's a ton of safety features with this MetalFab unit. We got that with the CNC unit itself, it's enclosed, and it has a built-in 8-inch fan, which exhausts all the fumes right out. It also has laser safe protection encasement. That black panel on the front of that is going to keep your eyes safe. And yeah, so for that, you're all set. And then with the welding, I do suggest the welding helmet. Now, for me, before, I did have the safety goggles that come with the unit. They were fine. They were just, the light was still too bright for me. So I prefer that auto darkening helmet, which I'll show you all in a bit too. Also, one of my favorite things to point out, if you've done a demo with me, which I do all these one-on-one demos also. One of my favorite things to point out that's a big difference between, say, like a plasma table and this is the kerf. So if you're not familiar with kerf is when you cut something, the amount of material that's lost in the cut. The MetalFab, there's almost none. So what I did is I cut this inner part out of this outer part and then cut the outer part out. And you could almost see, if I hold it up to the light, you could see that little bit of gap. That's all the material that's lost. The other cool thing is in the software, you can accommodate even for that little material. So you can get very dialed in. So see that? Those two parts. That cuts right out of that. So the MetalFab, it has dual cameras, which makes lining things up super easy. They're very accurate cameras, I have to say. It has two cameras. One of them is the wide view camera, which will get you a picture of the whole bed. And then you could even you can call it capture close view. And what it does is it'll bring the gantry and the laser head right over it, and the camera is right on it, and it will take a picture straight down. For that, you could almost see little grain in the metal. You could see little scratches in any metal. So when you're lining things up, that makes it super easy. It also has a red dot for framing, which comes in handy when you're doing like repetitive projects, because you could just slide the metal on through, especially if you're using the pass-through, push it on through, line it up for the next project, do your framing. The frame will go around your project, and then you're good to go. So there's two different options as far as the MetalFab goes, configuration-wise, as far as the welder unit. You have your 800 watt and your 1200 watt. Obviously, I prefer the 1200 watt because I've never wanted less power. I've never wanted less money in my account. I never wanted less RAM in my computer. Typically, more is better. So with that, you have your 800 watt. The advantage to the 800 watt would be that you have an integrated wire feed unit. So with the 1200 watt, because of the cooling and how all the equipment's built up inside, They did have to make a separate unit, which I'll show you in this demo process. Some other differences are the power consumption. Obviously, more power is going to consume more electricity. I have the 1200 watt unit. I can tell you that it draws right around 23 amps of max power, which is about 4,400 watts. So you would need a 220 line, and it needs to be on at least a 30 amp breaker. You could go up to a 50 amp breaker, and you're good to go. So definitely when you're setting up for your electricity, you want to look for that. It has a NEMA 650 plug on it, and that just plugs right into the wall. So when you're setting this up, if you do order one, go ahead and do that. One thing I also want to point out, you do have another optional accessory. If you don't already have an air compressor, if you use the xTool one, that does also run on 220. So when you're setting up when you're running out your either your sub panel or just your lines for your runs for your power system there, you want to make sure to have that both of those outlets set for you. The CNC itself is nice. It just plugs right into the wall. It only draws 2.5 amps, so you're good with that. Some other differences between the two, the thickness range that it could cut, the 1200 watts obviously going to cut more. It has more power. Some of the materials that they can cut, they both can work with stainless steel, carbon steel, aluminum, brass, titanium, galvanized steel. They do not work with copper though. So keep that in mind. They're not made for copper. Copper's highly reflective. And what it could do is it could bounce back and damage your laser head. So we don't suggest working with copper at all. There's nothing worse than going ahead and ruining a $12,000 to $15,000 machine because you wanted to weld some copper or cut some copper. So stay away from copper. That was found out through thorough testing. So just wanted to point that out one more time. You could get really precision welding. One of my favorite things about the unit is A, how easy it is to weld, and B, how small the weld is. It actually looks really aesthetic. You don't have to do the whip. You don't have to do the buildup of the material. And I've actually had my welds, two of the welds that I've done, I had them actually sent to 2 different shops. Shout out Ben Henry and shout out Tracy. Both of them actually went ahead and they're machinists and they work at machine shops, and they went ahead and tested the welds for me. And they came back really good. Full penetration, no distortion. You could actually see the weld through the other side. It was a solid weld. And I did that on some 3mm carbon steel is what I sent them. The other cool thing about it is it takes the learning curve out of it, because as long as you're not fighting it or forcing it, when the wire is feeding, it actually pushes you right along, which makes it really easy for even beginners. When we had a group of people stop by the shop back when it first came out. I've only had the machine, I think, a week or 2 at that point. And we were able to teach these people who had no welding experience how to weld that same day. So, and I didn't even have all the most experience with the machine yet because I didn't get to play with it as much. Another thing it could do is when you're done with your weld, you can clean up that weld. So when you're done with it, you hit it with the rust removal tool, and it goes ahead and it makes that weld really nice and bright, actually. You can also use that for removing rust on your materials. You can also use the rust removal as far as the CNC too, which is kind of cool. So as far as the intricacy of cutting, I have cut some very, very intricate things out. I'll show you a couple of them. One of which is cut this little crown out here. As you can see, there was no post cleanup. The only post cleanup I had was because I forgot to remove the plastic film on the back there. You can see some of the little plastic that's still on the back. But really intricate cuts. And what we're going to do is I'll demo how we could cut even like some earrings out of some 0.5 millimeter brass later. So another thing that it can do is it can do some scoring. Now, laser with the engraving, that is a feature that is, they have said that it's going to be coming sometime in August, but I have not had a chance to test it yet. So we'll see together when that comes out. Maybe we'll do another live demo and we'll demo for you guys the engraving once that's released. But for now, it could do things like scoring, which You could put like, say, like for like lines on a ruler, make little marks to indicate what piece is what. One thing I've done is I've done grid lines, like every 10 millimeters. So for lining things up on some of the products that I've done. So it definitely does work for that. You could also do the 3D fabrication. You can make really cool like geometric parts. I have some over here. Let's go grab that. So I've done some really cool intricate cuts where like I've done, you know, almost optical illusion style parts where it cut all these little pieces out, and you can see that it even cut it out of that nice rusty metal there. So even when it's not perfect, you can still go ahead and work with that material, which is great. You just have to, what I did when I was doing this is I set it to a fixed cutting height, and I just cut it out that way because it does have the capacitive sensor in the laser tip, or in the tip. And what that does is it keeps it at a steady distance going across. But if your material is all rusted, it might not be able to get a good capacitance reading on that. So you have to use a fixed head for that, or a fixed, the laser fixed mode, which I'll demo. I'll show you guys both of those in the software later. And now it's later. So we'll do a demonstration real quick. I'll show you guys some things in the software. All right. So as you can see, I have some projects to cut out as we go through this today. We'll be cutting some like intricate artwork out. We'll also cut some earrings out. And one of my favorite things about the software that I do want to show you guys real quick, it's a feature in the software, is they have some, it's called smart nesting. And if you're not familiar with nesting is, nesting means it's going to like rotate and piece together, kind of push together those pieces on your thing, on your design. And you could set that to do it on scrap pieces where, say you cut out the big center of an object, but you have a bunch of little, obviously good material left. It'll save you some money that way, because you could use those for smaller projects like earrings, business cards. I've done that. I've cut out some of my business cards out of some thicker material and then just tossed them over in my F1 Ultra or my F2 Ultra now, and went ahead and engraved them. And then I gave them to people in the metalworking industry, and they thought it was awesome. So it's a good way to save your wasted material there. We'll go ahead and demo the machine. Start by cutting out this guy here. So let me go ahead and I'll get that machine fired up for y'all. So to start, all we're going to do is we're going to turn the machine on. We'll turn on the CNC. And I'll go ahead and turn on my air dryer and air compressor. Now, one thing that's very important here when you're doing this, when you're working with the MetalFab, is that you have to use an air dryer if you are using an air compressor. You don't want any moisture going through. It'll ruin your laser. It'll ruin the lens. You got to think. If it's putting out moisture and you have wet air going through, A, it's going to affect your cutting. B, that's going to create some steam, which could damage the laser head. You don't want to do that. One thing that does pop up every time, and it still gets me every time, you have to agree to hit the safe, that you've read the safety manual every time. One of my favorite things about xTool machines in general is that you can use Wi-Fi. I love Wi-Fi. I have, as you can see, I have a lot of machines, and I don't have that many USB ports on my computer. Some days I'm working with, 5, 6 machines at a time. The last thing I want to be doing is running around the shop plugging in different USB cords just to make a project work. So to do that, we'll go ahead and connect it. You'll hear a beep, and then you're good to go. All right, now we'll get to show you the camera. So We'll hit refresh here. And we'll get to see the laser bed. Now, one thing I want to point out that was, it was not obvious to me, and it was not obvious in the beginning, was that you need to put something in the bottom of your tray. As the laser goes through and cuts that metal, it doesn't necessarily always stop right there when it cuts through that metal. So you don't want it to hit the bottom of that bare metal on your crumb tray, basically. So I used to put sand there. Sand is a little messy, but it does work. You can also, one thing I'm testing right now is I'm testing like high density, like welding and fire blanket, the really thick one though. I've used it a bunch so far and it's held up just fine. It's kept the heat off the bottom of, out of that tray. So that's going to help me a lot in keeping the dust down and keeping that machine clean, because I'm not going to have the sand kicking around in there. That was what I was noticing. So right now you can see we have this is our whole laser bed, and it has a 2 feet by 2 feet work area. Now the laser bed itself is larger than 2 feet by 2 feet, but it cannot use the entire inside of the machine. It has a 2 foot by 2 foot work area. It also has a pass through, which you can go ahead and feed up to 10 millimeter sheets of metal, 10 millimeter thick, 2 feet wide, as long as you need it to be. So if you were doing, say, like a large project, something like I did over there, but you wanted to make it a little bigger, if you wanted to make a large flag, what you could do is you could do up to like a 4 feet long, 6 feet long piece, 2 feet wide. And then the best part about working with metal is you can just weld it together. Piece together your pieces. A lot of what I've been making with it is I've been making a lot of signs and then pictures, little graphics, things like that. I've been making a lot of trophies. I've used some other logos. Grab that real quick. Some of the things I've cut. We've cut everything from logos of other YouTube guys. Shout out Justin Bittner on that. We cut his logo out of some stainless steel here. This is just how it came off the machine too. So that's one of my favorite things. When you get those settings dialed in, there's minimal dross, minimal cleanup and all that. And also, if you get good and you want to create some vectors, you can even vectorize somebody's face and go ahead and throw that right on there. So the possibilities are endless, but you could see the extreme detail in that cut. That was all cut right on the MetalFab. So one thing I mentioned is there's multiple different modes of measuring the distance. So you can maintain a constant cutting height. That's going to use the capacitive sensor. So even if I was doing something like diamond plate or an uneven surface, it would maintain the exact height that I set right there. I actually do, if I can find it somewhere on my desk, I do have a piece of diamond plate that we cut out the other day. Because I wanted to do this out of aluminum. So I did a diamond plate. I was going to do a diamond plate on one side, challenge coin on the other piece. So cut out pieces like this, no problem. The laser head will actually just lift itself up and keep that exact distance as it goes over these pieces. So that's pretty awesome. And then you can see the edge right on that. That's the exact edge. I didn't like polish this after or anything. This is straight out of the machine. You could see there's actually just a tiny, tiny, tiny little bit of dross on there, but you can't even like catch your fingernail on it really. And when you do, it just falls off. So that's been also one of my favorite things is the minimal cleanup. I don't have to sit out there and get the grinder out every time or, do anything crazy with that. As far as precision goes, we cut these little car coasters out. So these drop in the center console of the car in the little cup holders. Keeps that nice and clean. Plus, adds a nice little touch. What I have in there currently, we're going to start by just cutting out some rectangles so we can go ahead and weld those later. So what I have in there is some 2 millimeter carbon steel. My laser position not obtained. Because I had that off. Cool. So we'll go ahead and get some 2mm carbon steel. One other cool thing is all these settings, they're already there for you. Now, I'm a big proponent of the settings are a starting point because each metal, especially if you're working with different metal alloys, they might work a little differently. They might have a little bit different melting points, a little bit different hardness. You might have some that have a little bit higher carbon content, a little higher brass content, a little higher steel content, iron, whatever. So you want to make sure that you're also optimizing your settings and kind of doing some testing for yourself. If you're not getting the results you want, you can always start here with these bases and then kind of work from there a little bit. We'll go ahead and select that 2mm carbon steel setting here. You'll see it sets it to 2mm and it automatically sets the cutting height. So now what we'll do is we'll calibrate our capacitive sensor. I'm going to go ahead and click on that right here. And what it's going to do is it's going to bring the laser head on over, and it's going to go ahead and wherever I place this, it's going to measure the capacitance right where I tell it to. So I'll show you all in a minute. Right behind me, that's what it's doing. It's going ahead and dropping that right on down. So what it's going to do is it's going to get that capacitance value, so it knows if it maintains that distance, it should read that capacitance. So it'll keep that exact position and that exact distance away, so you don't lose your focus. And it cuts right on through. I'll go ahead and drop some rectangles here. Touch small. Another cool feature, now that this reminds me because I'm cutting these out, it does have a feature called fly cut, which if you have a bunch of similar shapes like the squares and you line them directly up, what it'll do is instead of cutting out, like a normal laser would and going a big square around it twice, what it'll do is it'll cut straight line, straight line, straight line, straight line, and then straight line down the center. So it saves you some time and some cutting, which will save you on gas, save you on power, and, well, most importantly for me, saves me on time. Go ahead and line that up, line top. So I'm going to go ahead and turn those other objects off in the software because we're not cutting those right now. Let's have those pulled up for later. And it does say use the double layer nozzle. Personally, and this is a freebie tip for y'all, I have found that I don't need to. I have found that if I use a setting with, my some preset settings here, you could just use the original nozzle and compressed air and go ahead and still get a good result on these cuts with that carbon steel even. So it's always good to dial in some settings here. So as you can see, I go ahead and I have my settings right there, 100 power, 70 speed. I got that taken care of. So we're good to go. My air compressor is already on, which if you see right here, it tells me accurately and in real time what my gas pressure reading is. Currently, I have my my air compressor set to 105, and as you can see, one of my fittings isn't exactly tight, so it's kind of bouncing around. But that's neither here nor there. That's on me. I didn't go ahead and retighten. But we got 103 psi, so I'm going to go ahead and get that cutting. You'll notice some sparks, and I'll bring it on over. I'll bring that camera on over there, and we'll go on a field trip, and I'll show you all just exactly how it's cutting. And then right after we get done cutting this, we'll go ahead and do a lucky draw for y'all. Jump that. There we go. Okay, connected. Damn it. There we go. So I'll bring y'all on over here. This way y'all can watch in real time how that's going to work. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to push that little button right here. And you can see just that quick, we're going to go ahead and run that right up. So there we go. All right, so right now we're going to go ahead and do our lucky draw, number 1. Give me 1 second. I'll grab that, get that pulled up for y'all. We're going to go ahead and use the word MetalFab. Go ahead and type MetalFab in there, and we'll go ahead and pick a couple winners for that. While we're doing that, I'm going to go find my calipers. I'm going to prove to y'all this, how this is all cut up. So while my people behind the scenes, while xTool goes ahead and does the lucky draw, kind of, they're going to pick who the people are. I got no part in that. So if you don't win, it's not my fault. If you do win, it's not my fault. But as you can see right here, this is the calipers, my digital calipers. Clamp it on there. That was actually 2 mil carbon steel that it just cut out just that fast. And that heat right there was already on there, by the way. That was not from the cutting. So, and that was, and one thing I want to point out about like the saving of money, you've seen that was just with the compressed air. That was it. I didn't have to use my nitrogen. I didn't have to use the oxygen, anything of that nature. And it actually cut it out, a really clean edge. We got a good cut. And what we're going to do later, we'll weld these together to demo the welding. So once Abby gets me that lucky draw winner, we'll go ahead and go from there. Congratulations, y'all. We got our winners. It's Jamie, Jackie, and Rich. Y'all go ahead and contact xTool support. I'm gonna go ahead and keep this chat open a little bit from now on, so I can kind of I could see which one of y'all which y'all are talking about in here too. I got to make sure y'all are paying attention. So contact the xTool official page, and we'll go ahead and they'll go ahead and get you taken care of with your winning prizes right there. As somebody in the live stream, the other live stream I have on my personal page pointed out, yeah, so more than 24 inches will not fit through that pass-through, as John pointed out. So just keep that in mind. You definitely don't want to be relying on pass-through the bigger materials, because it won't work. I'm gonna go ahead and get that comment section pulled up here. This way I can see if y'all have questions, maybe try to get some answers on the fly. We'll go ahead and I have them taking notes for me on all your questions. So once we get done with the demo portion of this, what we'll do is go ahead and we'll answer all those questions for y'all. And then you could ask any of those questions that I might have missed already. Answer that right in, or ask that right in the Q&A portion of this show. So now that we have our pieces cut here, and we have our lucky draw winner, let's get back to the demo. Go ahead. Bam. There we go. And just a reminder, because I just had to pop that back up, coupon during the live stream, valid for the next 7 days. $300 off the MetalFab, the Welder only, $500 off the MetalFab and CNC combo kit. I guess what we can do now is we'll go ahead and I'm gonna do the welding demo as last. The reason I'm gonna do that is because I'm gonna switch over to gas, and we'll cover all your gases when we get to that point. We'll cover all the different materials and different, as you can see, some of the big tanks I have behind me, and the actual the air compressor itself. I'll show you guys that and what that looks like and how I have it all set up. So for now, we'll get back to that demo. So I want to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and load up some 1/2 millimeter brass. Because I want to cut out, I mean, I don't necessarily wear earrings myself. I have AirPods, but not earrings. But you might want to make some earrings. And I just want to demo how like intricate and delicate of materials this machine can work with. So I'm going to go ahead and toss in some 1/2 millimeter brass real quick. And I'm going to go and peel the film off of it so I don't have to peel it off later. So there we go. See if that camera can get that camera to follow me. There's our 1/2 millimeter brass sheet. And I'll just go ahead and switch that camera over to, maybe. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to laser. I'm going to show you how to clamp things in. Looks like we're rotated sideways there. There we go. Now we're right side up. I'll go ahead and raise that up so y'all can see everything in here. So we have our slats here. Our slats are going to be what we rest our metal on. Here's our laser gun. We have a clamp here, and this clamp actually moves back and forth. So you can go ahead and, you know, clamp longer objects or shorter objects down and use both clamps. The pass through is both here and here, so you can pass it all the way through from one side all the way to the other. And if you look inside here, you can see there's my fire blanket. You can see that little mark right there from where we're cutting, but that's all it did. It's not going to damage that fire blanket. It's just going to discolor it, which that was the point of it. So I'm cool with that. Let me go ahead and set that in there. Clamp that on down. And now we'll jump back over and we'll go ahead and I'll show you guys what it looks like when it does the capacitance testing in there. So when you go to calibrate your capacitance, this is what you didn't see. So we'll go ahead and refresh it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and turn these off now because we don't want to recut those up. And I'll just grab these two earrings. I'll drop them onto my sheet. We're going to go ahead and switch to our 1/2 millimeter brass setting. We'll hit confirm. I'll enable these. Now, when you're working in XCS, didn't realize I was off camera there. When you're working in XCS, one of the things that you might notice sometimes is that you have multiple nozzles in the preset here. So if you hover over the little eye on it and then hover over the name, it'll tell you the rest of what's there. So this setting is if I was using the 2mm lens with argon at 174 PSI. And this one would be the air. Air is free, so that's what we're going to go with at 87 PSI. And then we could also use nitrogen, or we could use a high pressure compressed air. I'm going to go with my 87 PSI one. And these settings are all preset up for us right there. So we're going to go ahead and dial that in. We'll do these at, say, 60 mil. I say that's a pretty fair earring size there. Go ahead and drop that in. Cool. So now our next step is going to be, we're going to calibrate the capacitive sensor again, but this time I'm going to jump over and I'm going to put the camera on it so you can see what that looks like. So I'll jump back. So all I'm going to do in the software is click that calibrate capacitive sensor. It's going to pull up our menu. My computer is a little slow right now. I'm going to click right there. And then you can see all it's going to do is it's going to go ahead and drop that laser head down until it touches, and then it's going to retract. It touches, gets that capacitance, and that's how it knows, even when you're using this really thin material, how to maintain that 0.3 millimeter distance. So now that we have our capacitance calibrated right there, we have our settings at 0.5 millimeter. We'll go ahead and process that. Jump back into XCS, and we'll go ahead and process that. We're going to have to go ahead, and I'll show you how to adjust for the different focal point. It's telling me on the adjustable focus on the nozzle to go ahead and roll that back to -3. You can see this job's only going to take 36 seconds, so we'll be okay. I'm going to go ahead and hit start and see if it yells at me for being open. Yep, the lid's open. Let me go close that first. But I'm going to show you guys how to adjust that nozzle. Then we'll come back and hit the start button on the computer. So let me bring that real close there. So you can see right here, on our nozzle right here, we have this dial. All we're going to do to adjust it, it's currently set to 0. We're going to go ahead and roll that. And then there's -3. And we'll clamp that. All good. That's all it is. So now that we have that set, I'm going to go click. I'm going to close that lid, and we'll click start. And we'll show you how this thing cuts. All right. Just like before, start button. Now, one thing you'll notice with the brass, you don't ever see sparks unless it hits where the slats are. So that actually threw me off when I first started cutting the brass, because I've cut some thicker brass before. And what happened, I wasn't getting any sparks, so I was thinking it wasn't cutting all the way through. But in fact, it was. And there we have it. We're done. That's it. So we'll go ahead and grab that out there. All right, so I was a little bit off on my guesstimation here. The earrings are going to be a little big, but you can see that cut right on through. That'd be more of a, maybe like a necklace charm or something than an earring, but you get the idea. You can cut it real small. And then this, see, because it has such a tight curve, it didn't fall through, but it just pops right out. So now we have a little sun earring. There you go, a sun and a crown earring. Should probably make another set. So it's a pair, but you know, we'll just do one for now. Another thing I want to show y'all, you cut. So now these are all projects that you can use at craft fairs, use it to make some dough with if you already have your unit. Some other projects that I do want to show you though real quick that I have made. I've cut some deer scenes, some nature things. And you can make this small, or you can make it much bigger. This cool little German Shepherd, cut that right out of some brass. Let me hold that black background up so y'all can see that. You know, everybody, I'm a big dog owner, big dog guy. My dogs are tattooed on me here. And so I love all the little dog things. A lot of pet owners would love to buy that for their dog. You could make yourself some custom leash holders, all that stuff. And then this was part of that flag that I cut out, but it's also a cool little thing. So you could use that, save that for a project later. Take it to a gun show, do whatever you got to do. So one other piece that I do want to show you that I did cut yesterday. So I cut this right here on the MetalFab. So we cut the outline out on the MetalFab, but I did go ahead and throw it on the F2 Ultra. And with that MOPA laser, you can see we even got the colors. You can see the blue and the red right there. So I posted that in all the Facebook groups today. I thought it was a really cool project. So you could follow me on subscribe to my YouTube channel. I post settings and all that stuff on there and projects like that. I'm going to be posting a bunch more of that as we go too. So if you wanted to get some ideas from me, that'd be the good way to do it. So it's just going to be diode designs on YouTube. Our next project that I did want to cut out just to show y'all a longer process of cutting. We'll go ahead and turn these off. You can see this really intricate panel here. And it's about, was it 300 mils what we'll do? I'm gonna go ahead and load some more metal in the machine. And we can go right on from there. Let's see what we got here. Let me see what kind of some metal I got. Hopefully my camera doesn't go to the sky again like it always does. These AI cameras, these Insta360 cameras, they're awesome, but they go wherever they want. All right, so I think this time we'll do some stainless steel. So I have some 1mm stainless steel. Part of the reason I want to do the stainless steel is because then I can go throw it in my MetalFab or in my F2 Ultra, and I can throw some colors on it. Go ahead and toss that brass out of the way there. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop y'all back over to that Wi-Fi camera real quick. One thing I do want to point out when it'll save you a mess up. It happened to me when I started. So if you do have the piece of metal clamped down in your machine, you have to maintain a certain distance from it. It's right about 12 to 15 millimeters. So you got to keep it a bit distance, because otherwise it's going to hit your clamp here. And when it does, it's going to stop the machine. It's going to detect a collision. So you don't want to, there's nothing worse than getting almost all the way through a job and realizing that, well, you can't finish it now because you messed your project up because you bumped the side. You just clamp it in just like that. Clamp that down. So these knobs twist it up. This way you can get it locked in there nice and secure so it doesn't shift on you. And now we'll go ahead and get ready to roll. We have some 1mm stainless steel in here. All right. Now we'll switch it over to that 1mm stainless, which is all these are our preset settings. I'm using these for the demo. Obviously, we can dial those. You can dial in your own settings also, which I typically do for myself. But for the sake of the demo, I want to go ahead and show y'all a fair example without any of the work that I've done in the process. So this is straight out of the box. These are the machine settings that come with it. So grab that stainless steel preset. We'll go ahead and hit refresh on that. Now we'll wait till it does that refresh. And we'll go ahead and cut this nice little sign out here. We can make like a little pedestal out of this, some lawn art, some garden furniture, whatever you got to do. Go ahead and drop that over. And I'm going to go ahead and, because I didn't load that in there straight, go ahead and angle that just a touch. So it doesn't waste my material there. Now we'll turn that on. We'll set our nozzle again. So don't forget, some of these presets, you can use a save gas nozzle. You could use your ordinary nozzle, and it'll give you an indication on which one you should use. But as if you've taken a class with me or anything, you know, I would say the best way to learn is to play. So don't be afraid to get out there and to play with some different settings and test out your own. So grab that. You can see that I'm just using the 100, 300 setting. We're going to go ahead, because we're changing metal again, don't forget, we need to go and change our, we need to recalibrate, because each metal is going to have a different capacitance. So it's going to do that refresh right there. We'll go ahead and do the same as before. You'll see it's just going to go in there, touch down. It'll do the tap up, calibrate that capacitance. And now keep in mind, this is a very, very intricate design that we have here. So it's going to take a second to run through it, but I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at how fast it still works. Now that we have our capacitance set, we'll go ahead and hit process. Now it's going to tell us that we need to go ahead and roll that nozzle back to that -1. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. Just that easy. Close that back up. And now this is going to take 8 minutes. So we're going to go ahead and hit start, and we're going to let this run for 8 minutes. And there we go. Now, while that's working and that's cutting over there, I'll go ahead and I'm going to show you guys some other projects that I've done in the past, give you guys some ideas. Y'all can continue to watch that in the meantime. Oop, I forgot to switch that over. There we go. All right. So let me try to switch it so we can see both here. There we go. So now while this is running, I'll talk. So you might remember this from the last demo. We cut this deer scenery out of, this is just out of some carbon steel, some mild steel that we had laying around. We also cut, what else did we cut last time? We cut some aluminum, and then we got that We the People sign. What I like to do is I cut a lot of name tags out actually. And that's been really cool to give to people. If you've done if you've done a demo with me, that was probably one of the things that we did cut during it, you know, just out of some stainless. And then we could give those to people. When I do in-person demos, everybody always takes them and they leave with them and they're pretty happy about it. So just cut that out of some stainless. And then some other projects I've done trophies as far as like for my kids lacrosse team. So what I ended up doing is customizing them with their names, and you could buy these templates on Etsy, or you could buy like a pack of DXFs, or I suggest design your own vectors. Go ahead and be innovative, because that's what's going to get you the business. The copy pasting, you know, if everybody's doing it, everybody's doing it. So you're going to have less demand and less orders. Where if you come out with something really cool, unique, and your own, that's where you're going to find the most success in business. That's what I found, at least. Being unique definitely has its advantages. Because, you know, unless you find that wrong person that steals your design or steals your idea, you know, that does happen, as I found out. People will steal your ideas and your designs, but you know, if you're the originator, you're probably still the best at it anyways. So you can't let that kind of stuff get to you. They say imitation is the best form of flattery or whatever. Projects. So one of the cooler little projects, if you know me, I love my Ninja Turtles. I got the whole Ninja Turtle tattoo sleeve going on. So I cut this super intricate little manhole cover. Now this whole manhole cover is only about 2.5 inches wide. So you can see all those little intricate cuts in there came out perfect. And then this makes a good little drink coaster, or this one in particular, this design I made for somebody who was doing an epoxy table and wanted to include those pieces into the table. So you could do all sorts of different little designs and little things, and you could do that right out of your scrap metal. What I've been doing is I've been using all of my stainless scrap, like I mentioned earlier. I've been using all my stainless scrap to do my testing to get the colors on that F2, to get those MOPA colors. It looks like we got about 4 minutes left on that project there. Let's see what else we got. Oh, so while that's finishing up, we'll talk about the gases here. So in order to do your cutting, as you can see, it's blowing those sparks over. You do need to use some kind of gas in order to keep the nozzle clean and keep from, the stuff from blowing back at the lens, but also it's to push some of that molten metal out that draws. So the two tanks I have right behind me, I have the big 300 tank. That is my argon dioxide. It is a 75% argon, 25% carbon dioxide. And what I use that for, I use for the welding of steel. Right next to it, I have that little green tank. I don't use that anywhere near as often. That's for if I was doing my thicker carbon steel. That's my tank of oxygen. You do need oxygen when you get to the thicker steel to go ahead and get those good crisp cuts. The other tank that I do have in the back, I do have a big tank of nitrogen. Whenever I really need to have absolutely no dross and absolutely no dross is, by the way, the residue that's left on the back here, sometimes called slag. When I have to need absolutely none on the material, what I do is I use my nitrogen if I have to. It's only on the thicker stuff. For me personally, I have the xTool air compressor and air dryer, and you might be able to hear it in the background as it's kicking on. It can run at constant duty, and it keeps that air pressure up, so it just keeps going. And that I can assure you is way more cost effective than running to your local air gas to get another tank. And I did see in the chat, watching the machines is how you got sucked into buying a CNC. I just want to let anybody that's not familiar know, it does not get old. Pretty much every time I press that start button, I just sit and watch that go. So now that that wrapped up, we'll go grab that out of there, and I'll pull that out and show you all. So it actually got done a little quicker, 6 minutes. Oh, one thing I do want to caution you on, especially when working with stainless, because it's carcinogenic, you do want to have that air exhaust run. You could set that setting. I can show you that real quick. We'll hit OK. So what I have it doing is you could still hear that exhaust. You might be able to. I have my noise canceling on. But I can hear that exhaust still running, sucking out those fumes. xTool was smart enough to put in a setting where you could set your own custom design time or exhaust time after processing. So you can have that exhaust fan run for 30 seconds, a minute after, and then what that's going to do is that's going to make sure that all that smoke, all that exhaust that you don't want to breathe in is shipped right outside. Now I do have that 8-inch duct. You can see it on the wall behind me. That goes and it pipes right outside. I went on Amazon. I got myself a little, it almost looks like a dryer vent, but it's an 8-inch duct vent. Put that right in the side of my building. Exhaust right outside. I have no issues. Now that fan is stopped, after that 30 seconds, we can go ahead and grab that out there, and I'll show you all that. Now, as you can see, it had no problem cutting all the way through on all these pieces, but that curve fit is so tight, sometimes you need to go through and pop the little pieces out. I just usually give a little tap, pop some more of these out. Or, close this up, I keep these little files right here, and you just poke them all out. Even these little cuts, poke right on through. I'm not gonna do all these because, well, that would just take some time. I guess I didn't think that part through when I was in this design today. But you can see we have our leaf right there. That's our whole piece. There's the back. You can see almost no dross. There's no cleanup. There's no heat distortion. It didn't warp. There's a completely flat panel. So there you have it. So now what you could do, let's say you cut 4 of these and you made yourself a little top. Now you can make a nice little lamp, a nightlight stand, whatever. I have made these out of stainless steel as a gift for somebody. And what I've done is I've made 4 of these, welded it together, and I actually made it like a flower pot stand. And I gave it to one of my friend's mom that loves gardening, and she loves her outdoor stuff. And she needed a little garden stand for her porch. So I made her one of those. And I thought it was, she loved it. there you have it. So we just passed an hour. So I'm going to go ahead and show you just how easy it is to switch over. And we'll go ahead and switch over to the welding portion. Now, to do that, all I need to do is take the laser head out of the CNC. I'm going to turn off my air compressor because I'm going to be using my argon when I weld. And I'm just going to go ahead and put my welding tip on, switch that tip, and we'll get rolling on some welding. I'll show you guys a quick weld. All right. So switch that over so y'all can watch that happen. Just so you can see how easy it is to switch between the two. Switch that over just like that. Cool. Pop that onto that other camera. All right. So all we're going to do is take our clamp off here, take our laser gun. You don't want to drop it, so make sure you have a good grip on it. There's one clip, two clips. Remove this piece right here. One thing I always have a habit of doing, and I drive myself crazy with it, I set this here and then I forget that it's there, and then when it goes to close the lid, it knocks it in. So don't be like me. Move that on over. Put this back. And we'll go ahead and take this nozzle out. Just like that. Just one little clamp. Go ahead. I keep my wire right here. Just take your welding nozzle, slide it in, and let me see if I can see that. What you'll see is there's a little gauge on it. You want to slide that in until you're right at 0. You see our wire sticking out right there. And then we'll take our wire line and we'll just clamp that in there. Now we're almost ready to weld. We just need to switch over and plug in our argon gas airline right in. So I'm gonna hit confirm. All right, switch that on over. We're gonna remove our line here. That's coming from our air compressor. I have my other line here that is going to my argon tank. And we'll just plug that right in that quick fitting. Just like that. And as soon as I turn on that gas, we'll be ready to weld. There we go. So one other little thing I did want to point out is that we do have, I do have some regulators on here. So when you're using the different gases, you'll need a regulator specifically for your oxygen if you're using the oxygen. I like to have this type of regulator for when I'm doing my welding. And then there's another regulator that I have, which I use that for my nitrogen. And I also use it for my argon. And sometimes I even use it for when I'm welding. But I just like this one because you can dial in the gas flow right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to set this in such a way that when I go to weld now, y'all will be able to see it from the top down without my big paws in the way. Because that got me last time. All right. Now, one of the only negative thing that I have with this awesome xTool welding helmet here is that I need to take my hat off to use it, but that comes with it. That's part of welding, I guess. It's really adjustable though, and it's really comfortable to use, and it has that laser safe glass inside. One other thing that we're gonna want to use when we're doing this, you want gloves. Personally, I like the really thin gloves. They provide enough protection for me. I'm happy with it. And what I'll do is I'll show you. You see this welding table? I got this right at my local Harbor Freight. It was like $100. I like it. The reason I use the welding table is because you have your part of the safety thing is you have to maintain contact, constant contact with the metal. So this is your safety loop. I clamp that on the table, and as long as what I'm touching is what I'm welding is touching the table, it won't. We'll have our safety loop there. As you can see on the screen, there's our welding settings. So we're going to go ahead and set it over to the carbon steel, 2 millimeters. I believe I have the 1 millimeter wire in there. You'll see we have our wire feeder right here. That's our separate unit. And we're just going to use the default settings, and we'll go ahead and enable wire feeding. And when we're ready, we'll hit enable lasering. I don't like to hit enable lasering until I'm absolutely ready because, you know, even though it does have the two switches, the two safety switches, I do want to go ahead and not hurt myself. You don't want any misfires there. So I need my pliers. What I like to do is I like to snip the wire right at the tip. And you have these buttons right here on the welding gun that you could feed or retract. I like to have my wire. You should be able to see that little red dot right on the tip of the welding wire. Then you know you're dialed in, ready to go. Set our welding gun down there. I'm gonna grab our 2 pieces of metal from earlier, and we'll go ahead and weld those together. And hopefully this time, I'll do it in such a way that we don't weld it to the table. So I'm gonna move the camera on over. It's out of the way. Get that all lined up. I am right-handed, so pardon me while I just adjust that for you. There you go. We have our 2 pieces right there. Oh, actually, those gotta go on that side. There we go. Zoom that in. So we're gonna take our piece and our other piece. Make sure to always put on your safety gear. Enable lasering. Cool. We're put on our mask right there. Grab our laser gun, 2 pieces of metal. And we're just going to go put it at about 45-degree angle right there. Press it to the metal. There you have it. Hopefully my hand wasn't blocking it this time. And there you have our laser weld. We just welded just that easy. Just welded it on together. You can see on the bottom here, that penetration all the way through that metal. Just for good measure, I'm gonna go ahead and, oh, it did block it. Hold on. Move that out of the way. Yeah. There we go. So now, just in case I was blocking it before, I'll get out of the way this time. And we'll do the other side. So, zoom in just a touch. Yeah, I'm not like the official demo where I have a camera crew. It is just me. Yeah, I know the small screen blocked it. That's why I went ahead and I switched it back up. We're going to do the other side now. No tricks this time. I'll put my glove back on here. All right. At that angle, I do it right at about a 45. And all we're going to do is go straight down just like that. I'm going to go ahead and put my mask on now. Now that my my other camera is out of the way, you should be able to see it all. All right. There it is. I'm going to turn off the light. Now that time, I don't think anything was in the way. So there's our weld right there. You can see we have our full penetration in that weld all the way down on both sides. I could try to bend this all day. It ain't going to go anywhere. I'll go ahead and, just for the sake of doing it, clamp it down. Grab my pliers and we'll try to, just for the sake of doing it, we'll try to give this a little bend. Well, we bent it in half. But yeah, our welds are still there. Now, granted, this isn't a engineering kind of test. I didn't claim it to be. However, I did have people who do this kind of stuff for a living do those engineering tests and agreed that we did get some good results and some good welds there. So check that out. If you're curious about seeing those lab results, reach out to me. You could comment on this YouTube video. Send me a message at Diode Designs. Send me a message on Facebook, whatever you got to do. And I can try to get that over to you so you guys can see some of those results. And now I'm putting my hat back on. We'll go ahead and turn off that machine. This way we don't have those fans running in the background. Safety will turn the gas off. All right. And now it's quiet again. All right. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is we'll continue with our little slideshow that we had going on earlier. Jump back at that. And then we'll get this wrapped up. We'll have the Q&A session. So, a little summary. You guys seen the dual cameras. You guys seen, the save gas or the nozzles, how we could save some money. We could save some money by using the air compressor, using less air pressure too. And we did cut some 2 mil carbon steel with that compressed air and all that, and we were just fine. So another question that I've got is, well, how long is this laser going to last? So the service life is expected to exceed 10,000 hours. That's 10,000 hours of use. That's quite a bit of time. Especially as you guys seen how fast this laser works, 10,000 hours, you can get a lot done in that amount of time. There's a little comparison chart compared to other brands. It just compares all the different like welding performances, the max cutting, and the costs, the pluses and minuses of each. And now let's roll to that FAQ. Oh, actually, I have been informed, that's why I have these headphones in, that we are going to do one more lucky draw for y'all. So let's go ahead and run that second lucky draw. And what do we want the word to be? What do we want the word to be? The first one was MetalFab, so we don't want MetalFab. Let's go welding. So go ahead and drop that lucky draw in there, and we'll go ahead and we'll get rolling on that. The last lucky draw here is the word is welding. Go ahead and drop welding in there. Oh, I should have done diode, shouldn't I? I do like that. Thank you for that. Thank you for that idea, Lawrence. I wish I would have seen that beforehand. We would have done diode. But instead, we'll do welding. So go ahead and type welding in that box right there. And I'll go ahead and have xTool go ahead and pick that winner for me. Again, as I warned y'all earlier, you can't blame me if you don't win. All I can do is teach y'all. Speaking of teaching, if you did get the MetalFab and you did want some extra education, xTool has a new program. It's xTool Squad. I was actually lucky, and I don't want to say lucky, but I was actually honored to be picked as the first official xTool Pro Hub. So because I have my shop here, I can teach people online, remote, in person, whatever. You can come in the shop and get a demo, learn something. You could book appointments right on the xTool website. So you could book an appointment with me for skills training. We could do material testing, product demos. I'm sure as you've seen as I moved around the shop, we have almost every laser xTool has out currently here. So if you were interested in that, just look up xTool Squad, or you could send me a message. I could send you the link, and we'll get you set up. I'd love to teach y'all some stuff about different machines here. We'll let that run another couple minutes or a minute here. All right, xTool, you want to pick us a winner here? Pick us a good one. Pick us a good few. How about that? We got a Charles, a Rona, and First D. All right, we got Charles, Rona, and First D. Which, if those are your YouTube names, reach out to xTool and they'll go ahead, reach out to xTool official, send them a message, and they'll go ahead and they'll hook you up with that gift card. I'm glad y'all are attending, and let's go ahead and while we still got some time, I want to answer your questions. And you could always if you're familiar with it, taking any of my classes or reached out to me before, you could always shoot me a message after too. I have been blessed with a lot of work lately, and a lot of people asking me questions and reached out to me. So I do sometimes take a little bit to get back to people. And if I do miss your message, sometimes I don't get delivered all my messages. I've proven that before. So you can always reach out to my business account, Diode Designs, send a message there. And we can try to get that question answered too if we don't get to it tonight. Also, I wanted to point out that a lot of the stuff that I'm going to be teaching, or I have been teaching, you can also find how-to videos, tutorials, and different things that I've been up to making in my shop. Just go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's Diode Designs. Just give me a search, and I'll get more content, more videos out there. The more subscribers, the more reason I have to do it. So go ahead and drop that in there. And we'll go ahead and do this FAQ. So y'all could stop typing welding now, please. So I can read these questions, because last time it was rolling too fast. So I see the question from Smooth Scrapes. We got, can this machine also cut wood? It is a fiber laser. Fiber lasers in general aren't meant to work with wood. They don't have good results, whether it be a D1 or an F1 Ultra, your F2 Ultra, unless you have the diode, unless you're using the diode portion of it. A fiber laser is really not the best material for cutting wood anyways. So it is the MetalFab. It's mainly meant for metal. How loud is the machine when running in a garage? My shop isn't small by any stretch. This is about 14 feet wide. It's about 60 feet long. It's not terribly loud in here. The fans are the loudest part of it, because you got to have that cooling. Now, you also have the air compressor. One of my plans is eventually I'm going to move that air compressor outside, just so that's a little bit less noise. But I went ahead and, I wouldn't say it's noisy at all to the point where it's going to disturb your neighbors or anything. I mean, it sounds like a desktop computer with its fans on high performance mode. It's just a big fan. It doesn't make a lot of noise as far as like your neighbor's kids' sound system when they drive down the street, or those Dodge Chargers that go ripping down the road where I'm at in Nashville. Their exhaust it's exponentially more annoying, wastes way more noise. Trust me on that. So I would go ahead and I would say that the noise shouldn't be a concern. The loudest part of the noise is the fans. And the venting outside, I can't say your neighbors aren't going to want to, you're going to want to smell the metal dust, depending on how close they are. But I have mine ducted out, and it's like a dryer vent. You could also get one of those exhausts where they would feel like a water heater, where it has like the little cap on the top, like a chimney thing, and just vent right up that way too. So there's different options there. I don't know where each of you live. So Lawrence, I can't answer exactly the smoke thing. It's nothing crazy. I just wouldn't go breathing in that in. I wouldn't put it right next to somebody's bedroom or anything like that. So the slate and other stone, again, I have not personally tested the slate, stone, and all that jazz, because I use my MetalFab as my MetalFab. One of the things I kind of talk about all the time is I use my hammer for a hammer. I use my hammer to drive nails. I use my screwdriver to work with screws. I use the correct tool for the job. So I personally don't use my MetalFab to cut any slate. When I was welding tonight, that was argon dioxide rich, and so it was a 75-25 mix, and I believe I had it set to around 70 megapascals, so right around 50 cubic feet is what I had mine set to, I believe. If you message me after, or go ahead and post that comment on my YouTube channel or something, I'll go ahead and answer it. I'll run it. I'll look at it, the exact number, the next time. I vary it depending on the thickness of metal. So I forgot what I used for this one specifically. I said it a while ago. Alan, can you cut painted copper? It's treat it like the green eggs and ham approach in Dr. Seuss. You cannot paint. You shouldn't be working with copper with it. You don't want that reflective, the highly reflective metal, even if it's painted. it's just like when you take the first layer of paint off, and then it still has to go the rest of the way. You don't want that reflecting back and damaging your unit. So I would suggest and say I would not. That would be my suggestion with that. Scott, have I done any freehand cutting? Yes, I have. I am not anywhere near as skilled as the CNC is, but I have done some freehand cutting. And one of the things is I wanted to personally push the limits of it. It was very ugly, but I was able to cut like I cut some 6 and 7 millimeter thick carbon steel with it. Actually, I cut some angle iron the other day. That was one of the things I just wanted to see if I could do it, and it did. But it was god awful ugly. Now the thinner metals cut very easy. I cut some of my scraps, so when I have like little pieces left over, I go ahead and cut the little edges off when I'm done. This way I could save those for different projects and testing later on. So Chris, as we covered earlier in the slideshow, if you missed it, xTool will be releasing the option, they say in August, for the ability to do the engraving. It is not currently out. I have not tested it yet. So in the slideshow, we did point out that they did say sometime in August, we'll have that software to be able to test that. Can you use this xTool with the purifier? No. The AP2 is not, the AP2 has like a 3-inch input. This has an 8-inch output. You're not going to get anywhere near the flow that you need to go ahead and safely operate this machine with the AP2 filter system. You're definitely better off. You definitely should be venting this outside. Let's see here. Oh, F2 Ultra arrives tomorrow. Hopefully it does. FedEx pulled the old rope-a-dope on me last minute. Last Wednesday, it was supposed to be delivered, and it didn't get there till the next day. So I hope you do get your F2 Ultra tomorrow. Mine got delayed by a day, so. See if we got any other questions here. I'm gonna go ahead and jump over. I don't know if there's any questions on the official Facebook group. I don't have that pulled up right now, or on the official Facebook one. Let me go ahead and try to jump in that. Get that pulled up, and then I'll see if there's any questions in there for y'all. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to find that link to that Facebook one. If y'all have any more questions, go ahead and jump on that right now. But I'll go ahead and pull it up. All right, cool. Let me mute this so I'm not getting that buzzing in my ear. All right. So I keep asking for clarification. Can I cut 24 72-inch piece? You could cut 24-inch wide. This is the answer you because you keep asking Matthew Trevino. So you can go ahead and use the pass-through and then reline it back up and continue your cut. You would have to break it into sections because 72 is bigger than 24. So 24, 48, 72. So it would take 3 sections. You'd have to break your cut into 3 pieces, but yes, you can cut it. I have personally cut a 24 by 48 piece prior to this. So I'm trying to bounce back between the 2 different chats here. And what type of material is the 2 millimeter CS? I believe that the 2 millimeter would be the 2 millimeter carbon steel. And Smooth Scrapes, do you need gases for all types of metal cutting? Yes, you need some form of gas, whether it be the air compressor, the argon, the nitrogen. That will vary on what you're doing. So one of those, you do need you do need some form of air pressure and air gas going through it for it to work. I'm gonna go ahead and scroll on the other one. just to see if there's any other questions I missed. Do you feel that you need to wear a PPE in the room with this machine? I always suggest you can never be too safe. Always wear your PPE. Wear as much as you feel that you need. I know mine is exhausted very well, so I feel comfortable without it personally. That's my own personal choice. That is not a suggestion for you. That is not legal advice. That is not medical advice. But you can wear a mask if you feel the need to, depending on your ventilation and your situation. Let's look at that. Are all the present settings in millimeters? And yes. So Charlie, from what I have seen, it is all in millimeters rather than gauge. But let me show you something real quick. This handy dandy chart right here. You could print one of these right out. I got this right off Google. And it is a millimeters, inches, and gauge thickness chart. So you can go ahead and either memorize it or print that chart out and go from there. So can you cut all the way to the edge? I have cut all the way to the edge. I have cut right to the edge of that mark, and it cuts it right off. It lops it right off at the edge. So I have cut where I have not left a buffer before. Have you had your MetalFab? I'm assuming that question is how long have I had my MetalFab? And I've had it actually, I was the first person in the US with it, which was really cool. I was very honored to be picked for that. And I've had it for since February. We've been running it. So shortly after February, I had the electrician come. We got that all set up. And so I've been running it since then. And I'll go ahead and piggyback that back to the other question in the YouTube channel. How many cutting tips have I had to replace? I have had to replace exactly 0 cutting tips so far. That being said, I did have to replace one of the lenses, the protective lenses. So that was of my own fault. And I say that, and I fully admit fault with this. The reason is I was using the CNC rust removal, and it got really late. It got to about 11, 12. I was thinking it was probably like 12 o'clock. I did the rust removal on a piece, and then instead of cleaning it right before I left like I should have, I went ahead and called it a night because I was tired. Well, I came in the next day raring to go, and I went ahead and fired up that MetalFab, and I did a cut, and guess what? With that dirty lens, well, I went ahead and messed one up. You can see you got that little dot right there. So I did what anybody that's responsible would do. I pulled out one of my spares that I have, and I went ahead and popped that out, popped the new one in, and I was good to go again. Takes all of about no effort. I can show you all that actually. So in order to do this, all you would do is lift this up. And now this is another thing. You should clean these often, check these often as you're doing it. So there's 2 protective lenses, not 1, 2. So to remove it, all you do is pull up on this little clip right here. This slides out, and you can see you got your little protective lens right there. Mine's pretty clean still. I just cleaned it before this. Then go ahead and pop that right back in there, slide it on in. Put the cover back on, and you're good to go. Now, when I do need to clean my protective lenses, I do use the protective, just the lens wipes. Usually gets all my lens stuff nice and clean. So if there's a little dross, I don't really know what the best way is. I can tell you how I do it. I have a very fine polishing grinder disc, and I go ahead and just polish it if I want to, if I feel the need to. There's also a little tool that I have, like a little, that's why I have these little files if I need to get in there, get a little bit off. There's also a little tool that they sell that just kind of runs on the edge. You can kind of get it off that way if it's a softer metal, especially like some aluminum. You're welcome for the demo. I'm glad you all attended. And don't forget, we do have that coupon code. So let me go ahead and put that back on for y'all. Don't forget to write that down. You have 7 days. And then also, don't forget prices are going to be going up. So, you know, $500 plus what the price would increase, some significant savings if you were on the fence. And this is the machine for you. Another question, how many hours do I have on it? I haven't checked that. Quite a bit. So as fast as it is, I run the machine quite a bit because I do a lot of demos for you guys, for the community. I run the machine a lot. I make a lot of signage. So like a lot of signs like that and other signs. I make a lot of stuff, a lot of intricate cut items. So I have ran it quite a bit. I can't even estimate how many hours, just a lot. Between all the demos and then the people who have come to my shop to check it out. So I don't have that exact number. I would just say a lot. What's the tubing? I forget offhand, but what I could do is I can go ahead and caliper the end of it for you. I'll tell you. I'm pretty sure it's 3/8 and then 1/4 inner diameter, but I don't want to be on the wrong side of an assumption there. So I'll go ahead and get that out for you. So I got a whatever the conversion is, it's about a 10 millimeter outer diameter tubing on there. And now if you do get the air compressor, it does come with some tubing. So you should be good to go there. But yeah, it's a 10 mil tubing. Does it keep track of usage in the system? I haven't looked. I can't say that I've looked. I'm sure in some of the logs and somewhere it definitely does keep track of the hours. I just haven't had a need to look, I guess. I know you could check your serial number. You could do all your customization in the unit, so I would imagine, but I can't confirm or deny that. Lawrence, I would love to answer that question, but in like a court of law, the judge would say no, that's speculative. As far as whether xTool will be doing a rotary or a convertible or a conveyor pass through, I don't know. I wish I had that intel. What I can say is it does have some accessory ports on it. What those will be used for, I am not privy to any information. I wish I did know. I hope so. Yeah, that David, that air compressor was one of the coolest things. And as far as how like it gets up to that pressure, and I'm able to actually like do these demos with that running, or we can have a conversation with it running, and it's still not blowing me out like any of the bigger compressors that I have in my other shops, like at my house. How often do you need to fill the argon? About as often as it depends on how you use it. I can't say how often. It depends which tank you get. There's about 10 different size tank, or at least 5 different size tanks you can get. So it's going to depend on how much you're using. And if you're using argon to cut, you're going to use a lot more gas than if you're just using it to weld. So kind of hard to give a straight answer there. I can tell you that I've welded quite a bit, and I've only had to refill it once, I believe. Well, I think that's if anybody has any more questions, go ahead and drop them now. and I can try to get those answered. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Again, don't forget, go ahead and follow if you want to check out some other videos. I have a bunch of videos about, you know, different projects I've done, making some cool firefighter flags, some different MetalFab stuff, as well as the F2 Ultra, F1 Ultra, troubleshooting tips and all that stuff. Go ahead and drop me a follow on YouTube. It's just the @ symbol, Diode Designs, DIODE Designs, just like your shirt says. And give me a follow on there, and I'll keep you guys informed on some different stuff. If you ask me some questions, I'll see if I can make some videos for y'all and answer some stuff there. I did see Eli asked, do I prefer welding with nitrogen or argon? The short answer to that is it depends on what the material is. You really want to make sure to, you know, pair the correct gas to the correct material. So I would definitely suggest doing that. Kim asked what plugins are required for the machine. So for the air compressor, it is a 220. I have it running on a 20 amp breaker. The air dryer, that can be 220 or it can be the 110, depending on which unit you buy. That can run, obviously depend on which one. As far as your welding unit, that will take a 220 and you will need a minimum of 30 amps. I believe the 1200 watt unit is shipping with the NEMA 650 plug, which that is a 50 amp plug. I do suggest consulting with your local NEC or electric codes department to figure out what the code is for where you are as far as what you need to install. And you may need to install a 50 amp, or you might be able to install a 30. And then the CNC itself draws 2.5 amps, and you could plug that right into the wall, because that's what I did. But if there's no further questions, well, when using the welding, can a regular auto darkening helmet work? No. No. You need to also protect your eyes from the spectrum of laser. And a welding helmet isn't a laser welding helmet. So it could pass right through that. You're not just, the welding helmet's to protect you from the bright light. It is not necessarily to protect you from the spectrum of light that the laser operates at. It operates at with light you can't see. You don't want to go blind. For I believe it's $110 that these fine xTool ones are on their website, you can't go wrong. My vision personally is worth more than $110. So I would highly suggest it. You can see the laser glass on the inside of it, and it is auto darkening on the outside of it. So highly suggest this. Highly suggest that. So and if y'all want another one-on-one demo, you have more questions, you could feel free to reach out to me or book an appointment, book another one-on-one demo on the xTool squad right on xTool's website. You can search me up. And if you're feeling froggy and you want to come visit me just outside of Nashville, you can book an appointment and come on and do that too. But I think that's about it. I haven't got a ton of new questions here. So I hope y'all appreciated me. I got the audio fixed a little bit better on this one. I found out the issue with that. And I found a way to weld without putting my gloves in the way. So y'all actually got to see a weld this time. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. I appreciate you all stopping by. Good luck and happy laser, and hope you guys pick up the machine. And if you do, I'll see you guys in the Facebook groups. All right, y'all. Peace.